Good afternoon, teachers. I see a lot of people are still joining in. May I request all of you to uh, please be on camera as much as possible? Okay. Hi, Gauri ma'am. I remember you were the first one to join in for this session. Okay. So before we start anything, and I can see that there are still people who are joining in. So why don't we just do one thing? And we have done it with our Saksham teachers already. And I personally like it because it suddenly makes the screen very colorful. So what I would request is we have these reaction option in our Zoom account, right? So why don't we go ahead and select one emoji that you can relate the most with in this moment. So on a count of three, yes, Shalja ma'am, exactly that. So let us choose one reaction that we would want to give in. One, two, three. Perfect. Different times, but still makes it like yellow, red, a lot of colors. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for cooperating, everybody. With that, first of all, thank you everyone for joining in on time and taking out time for being part of this particular session. Uh, I would heartily like to welcome all of you to our VBET session, which is like you read it on your posters as well, which is on cultivating character, an educator's guide to nurturing values in classrooms. Just to give you a little bit of context, here at Val-Ed Initiatives, we believe that character is the basis of any learning for any individual. There is no meaning in teaching, let's say, history, maths, language, science, world facts, world geography, anything to anybody if we as educators cannot teach them the importance of learning and abiding by certain values and life skills in our lifestyle. We also believe that socio-emotional skills of any student is of immense importance and precedes any other learning, like I mentioned before. And to achieve this goal, we have Saksham program, which is implemented in various schools across India. And our participants of this session are from these schools itself. Not just Saksham teachers, but all the teachers have been invited from your respective schools. So, again, I would like to extend my thanks for everybody for taking time out and joining this session for this wonderful learning experience. Even though, as I mentioned, a few teachers in each of our schools are taking Saksham classes, we feel it is important that every educator in the school is also taking certain steps to facilitate non academic skills in our students. And this is also why this session has been designed to provide our educators, to provide all of you with certain insights into how we can exactly implement different strategies for making our classrooms values based, for infusing values into our classroom, and also keeping in mind how we can be aligned with our policy as well, our national education policy. And to do that, we of course have a wonderful person here, Vijayam Kartha ma'am, who has been recognized widely for her efforts. And I remember, ma'am, you mentioned that you do not like these kinds of introductions, but I still cannot stop myself from giving your introduction in that way because your journey has been inspirational, at least for me. Uh, you have right now you are presently associated with Educators Wing of Initiatives of Change, which is a worldwide movement for people who believe that personal change leads to societal change. And like I said, your journey has been inspiring and truly amazing from my point of view, with 40 plus years of experience in the field and that started as a librarian in a school and growing into different titles of being a teacher, of being a principal, and ultimately a co-founder and chairperson of a chain of schools. And your efforts have also been recognized with various national and local awards from governmental and non-governmental organizations. With that, I would leave the rest for you to bring out in your stories as you always do. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. And to let everybody know, we also have. We also had conducted one of our sessions on 15th of September for our Saksham teachers. And after that session, a lot of teachers had requested that we need another session with ma'am. So, with that introduction, I would request Vijayam ma'am, you can please take over and start with your session, with your stories, however you would want to. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruchika. Thank you, my dear friends, for joining this session on a Saturday afternoon. I'll be very grateful if some of you at least could keep their video on. So I may request the people whom I can see on the this side. I may request them to keep it on from time to time. So now, right now, I can see Tejaswini and Sri Vidya. I'll be very grateful if you could switch it on so that Ruchika is already there. But if you have got a problem, I won't compel you. So thank you. And I thank all those teachers who said they would like to listen to me once again. God bless you. So let me start. The question is who can share host only their Ruchika?
Let me look at my settings, ma'am, because I believe you should have rights to share. Okay, ma'am, can you try now?
Yeah, okay. I'll just. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see?
Yes, ma'am, we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, good afternoon, my dear friends. This session, we are going to focus on two aspects. One is why values as per NEP. So today or tomorrow, we have to implement NEP. The sooner the better, so that we can proudly proclaim to the world what NEP values and all we have already implemented in our schools. And I'm sure some of the practices which I'm going to share must have been followed by many schools from many years. The second focus will be on what are the strategies, methods, techniques to implement NEP suggestions in classrooms, across the school in your teaching learning practices. So we are going to focus on these two aspects. So I start with a question. Okay, let me share this. Why we should focus on values? So I love to share this quote whenever I get an opportunity. As nation builders, why should we focus on values? This is a beautiful quote from James. Generally, he's called Guspeth, an American environmental lawyer and advocate. He says, maybe some of it I can't read, so Ruchika, you may have to help me to read. I used to think the top, or Ruchika, why don't you read it?
Okay, sure.
Or Sri Vidya.
Okay. Okay, I can start. For later part, I think teachers can also come in and start reading. Okay. So I'll start reading from the paragraph here. I used to think the top global environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that.
So let's have some sort of a conversation. I'll be very, very grateful if some of you could start, interacting. Do you agree with this statement? He says the topmost environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. Do you agree? Anybody? I'll be very happy to hear. Otherwise, I'll be talking and it will be very monotonous. Nobody? Do you agree? It's a simple question, yes or no. You can even type in the chat box. Do you agree that the top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy?
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Ma'am, I think I totally agree with this statement because whatever we are facing right now, whether it is pollution, whether it is afforestation, whether it is like destroying the nature, it's all because of human selfishness and greed. Had we ever thought of the upcoming generations or the life around us, the animals, the water life, we wouldn't have been facing these problems if we had that empathy and the selflessness which is required.
Wow, beautifully said. May I know your name? I can't see you here.
I'm
So
Neeta Sirohi from the Avati Modi Academy.
will you please repeat your name?
Ma'am, Neeta Sirohi from the Avati Modi
Nita,
Academy.
Nita. Okay, wonderfully said, Nita. Thank you so much. Yeah. So anybody else would like to share something other than what Nita has said? Anything different? Okay, so we all agree the top environmental problems as selfishness, greed, and apathy. It's like a paradox, isn't it? We are talking about environment and we are talking about selfishness and greed and empathy, which are related to our own self. So, but as Nita has rightly said, whatever we do, whether it is corruption, whether it is violence, everything, the reason behind it is selfishness, greed, or apathy. So this is why we should focus on values. I feel since we are the nation builders. In our B.Ed college, the first lesson we were taught was teachers are nation builders. If we are nation builders, we have the responsibility and even the power to build a nation or rebuild a nation. So value education is so important because we have to teach them selflessness, we have to teach them empathy, we have to teach them contentment, happiness. So value education is very important. Why should we focus on values as individuals and teachers? I would like to hear some more responses. What are we striving for at our personal life? In our personal lives, what are we striving for? Anyone? It will be wonderful if you can respond faster so that we can save time. I have got only 1 hour. What are we striving for at our personal life? What are we running for in our own personal lives? What
Peace
is
and happiness.
peace and happiness? Wonderful. You can tell your name so that
I'm
at least.
Nancy, ma'am.
Okay,
Nancy.
Nancy says it's peace and happiness. I'm sure all of us agree. At the end of the day, we need money, we need everything, but all that we need for our own peace and happiness. Now tell me, what are we striving for at our professional level? In our professional life, what are we seeking?
Ma'am, contentment and perfection, I suppose.
Okay, contentment and perfection. Okay. Okay. What else? Anyone else? Even in our professional life, we want to be happy, contented, peaceful, isn't it? Perfection, maybe we all want to be perfect. It's a little tough job to be perfect, but then we are all striving to be as perfect as possible. So at our personal life and at our professional life, we are striving for happiness, peace, contentment, etc. Now let's come to our students. What are our greatest concerns about our students? What worries us about our students?
Lagging
What
in moral values.
Okay, lagging in moral values, that is a concern. What else?
From their restlessness, their discontentment, their longing for things which are like totally materialistic. They are running after those things, and they are not at all concerned about others.
Okay, okay.
They're
We are
being
all
self.
concerned about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What
They
else
are
we are
not.
concerned about?
They are not much empathetic. We can say that.
Okay. What else we are concerned about? One is character. We can bring all these things under character, behavior, etc. What else we are concerned about our students? What else we are looking for when from our students? What are we expecting from our students? Only behavior, character?
How they are going to be in their future, how they're going to behave, or
Okay. So we are concerned about their future also. I'm talking about the present. We are concerned about their character, day-to-day behavior, all those things. That's all what is happening in the school setup.
Time management,
Time
studies.
management, okay, studies. So can I put it in this way? Academic performance, are we concerned about their academic performance? Aren't we concerned about our students' academic performance? Yes or no?
Certainly, ma'am, that's the first priority.
Absolutely. For
Everybody
many
is
schools,
the-
academic performance is the first priority. For most of the schools or many schools, academic performance is the first priority. Then they say, we want the children to have a good behavior, good character. So
a well-rounded personality.
well-rounded personality. We can put it in other words, we are concerned about their character and competence, like, to put it together. So now let's say, what does research or studies say? Somebody right now said academic excellence is the first priority. And Ruchika, when she started the session, she said the importance of character. So what does research say? Let us see. So we all strive for good health, happiness, prosperity at our personal and professional lives, isn't it? Mental health, physical health, all that. We are concerned about student behavior, character, and their academic performance. But what do studies say? Research studies say that the answer lies in inculcating values in your life, putting character before competence in school, putting character before academic performance in schools. Studies say if you focus on character, competence will follow. If you focus on, I'm repeating, if you focus on character, academic performance will improve. Do you agree?
Certainly, ma'am. If a child has a value-based education, he gets that. So if he's honest, if his integrity is there, if hard work is there, certainly competency would be following.
Wonderful. Absolutely, rightly said. So if the child has a good character, he is disciplined, he knows how to manage his time, he has some definite goals in his life, and he knows how to respect people, how to collaborate with people and all, naturally, he will be good in his academics also. So that is the second reason why we should focus on values in schools. Number one, we said, like overall, the whole country, the whole world, we are suffering due to climate change and violence, polarization, all those things. So as nation builders, we have to focus on values so that our children become good and responsible, kind, compassionate citizens. That is reason number one. Reason number two is research says if you want academic performance, academic excellence in your schools, if you want your children to be all-round, children to have all-round development, as somebody had said earlier, If you want your children should have a good future, if you want all that things, all those, we have to focus on student behavior. We have to focus on values. Now, why focus on values? Again, some more research. 85% of job success comes from your attitude and the way you relate with others. I think I talked about, some of you must have attended my previous session. There also I talked about why relationships are important. So when I started as a teacher, I used to think that if my students have to be successful, they should have knowledge. They should have that bookish knowledge. They should be thorough with their textbooks. They should have 95% marks and all to start with. Slowly we realized a lot of studies have happened, and now it's shown that research from Harvard University and Carnegie Foundation and Stanford University have put this research together. 85% of job success comes from our attitude and our relationships. Only 15% technical skills and knowledge. Again, do you agree? Can this be possible? Any response? Do you agree with it? Yes or no? Yes, Saloni, thank you. It's only natural, when you have the right attitude, you will walk that extra mile to equip yourself with the skills and knowledge. For example, you got a job in the present school. The first day, like you are a fresher. So the principal gives you some sort of an instructions and all, but then you try to study thoroughly. You may attend some senior teachers classes to understand how is it happening in this school, how are they managing the classroom, how the teaching learning happens, and you will try to learn. So if you have the right attitude. So that is another reason why we focus on values. Now let us go to NEP. What does NEP talk about? NEP 2020 talk about values education. NEP 2020 clearly mentions that the purpose of the education system is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action. First, good human beings, then rational thought and action. Possessing compassion and empathy, courage and resilience, scientific temper and creative imagination, with sound ethical moorings and values. This is the purpose of education as per NEP 2020. Let us remember it. Let's not think that, okay, this is a session, we may forget it. No, if you focus it once again, we will never forget it. You need not even write it down. You can, implant it here. So think about, just let's look at it once again. Somebody's audio is on. Can you please switch it off? Someone is in the kitchen, it seems. We can understand. But then I salute that person for listening to this session in spite of the work at home. Thank you so much. So the purpose of education system is to develop good human beings capable of rational thought and action, empathy, courage, scientific temper, creative imagination, ethical mooring. So please remember, it talks about values, and it's talking about cognitive development also. And what does it aim? It aims at producing engaged, productive, and contributing citizens for building an equitable, inclusive, and plural society. As, what is that? Can you read it, Ruchika? And plural society as envisioned in our constitution. Okay. I can't see because of that panel. I can't see. Okay. It's okay. So we have to produce engaged, productive, and contributing citizens. And we all know, like now, India, the whole world will be looking towards India for their, for a large number of workforce. So it's so important for us to develop our people with the right attitude, skills, and values, and so that they are future ready. That's what NEP 2020. Values are NEP 2020 talking about. You need not by heart, but just have an understanding. NEP says we should have traditional Indian values as well as basic human and constitutional values we should have. What are the traditional Indian values? For example, in our country, seva, himsa, swachhata, satya, nishkam karma, shanti, sacrifice, all these things are very, very, close. It's there in the ethos of our country. Tolerance, diversity, pluralism, righteous contact, gender sensitivity, all these things are there in our constitution. Respect for elder and respect for all people, inherent capability, in spite, regardless of their background, respect for environment, etc. Helpfulness, courtesy, patience, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, patriotism, courage, resilience. Democratic outlook, integrity, responsibility, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, scientific temper, leadership, critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration, the 21st century skills. So immediate thought which comes to our mind, my goodness, all these values, and we have to teach all these values to our children, and we won't have any time for academic transactions. But all these things can be done in very simple ways. So I could have taken a lot of information from the internet, and I could share with you. But what I have tried to do is I have tried to put in the practices which I have tested and I have practiced and got results, and some which I have read somewhere here and there, but which practices which are easily implementable in our schools. So just please have an idea that we should, NEP 2020 wants us to inculcate the traditional Indian values as well as basic human constitution values. Traditional Indian values means seva, ahimsa, swachhata, satya, nishkama karma. Nishkama karma means doing something without any expectations. I hope you know that. Basic human values is respect for elders, respect for people, helpfulness, courtesy, patience, forgiveness. Basic human values. Constitution values we all know: democratic outlook, integrity, responsibility, justice, liberty, and all those things. 21st century skills, critical thinking. There are so many more 21st century skills, but then mainly we talk about these four skills: critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration. So I would like to hear from you. What are your strategies, best practices to inculcate all these in your schools, classrooms across the country? Let's start with 21st century skills. So how do you foster critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration in your schools? Anybody would like to share their best practice? How do you do that? Anyone? You can even put it in the chat box. I have already completed half an hour, so I will be very grateful if you can be a little faster. Anyone? I'm sure you will be having 101 practices: critical thinking, communication. Nobody? Okay, I'm sure when I share, you will all say that, ma'am, this also we have. Don't you have all these common practices? I think every school, every Indian school must be having these practices. Assembly activities. Is there any school which doesn't have assembly activities? Maybe weekly activity period. Some schools may not have, but most of the schools have these days. Hobby classes, most of the schools have. School functions like annual exhibition, prize nights, I'm sure every school has. House system, every school has. Moral science, life skills classes, I'm sure every school has. Maybe activity period, hobby classes, circle time, and peer help. Most of you must be having, some of you must not be having. Will these activities help you to inculcate 21st century skills? Yes or no? Yes? Snigdha, what do you say? Yes. Many times we must be having all these activities in our school without thinking about, like what sort of outcomes we are trying to get out of these activities. Maybe now from today, when you start, if you revisit these activities and see whether each of these activities is able to foster these 21st century skills in our children, it will be a wonderful practice for you. Revisit it. But what are our assembly activities? What sort of attitude, skills, and knowledge these assembly activities are providing to our children, even to our teachers? So the people who are in charge of assembly activities can sit down and do a brainstorming uh, and tweak it. Recently, I heard from a school that what that school does, everyday assembly activity, I'm sure in every school, a particular class will be in charge for 1 week or 2 weeks, whatever. So whichever student is on the stage is going to perform on that day, those students' parents are invited for the assembly. Some sort of a developing relationship with parents, involving them in the school activities. That also helps the children to enhance their performance. My parents will be there. I would like to put up a better plan. So, assembly activities can really help to inculcate 21st century skills. For example, you can give a topic to the children. One day, Monday, it can be a debate. Tuesday, it can be a talk. Wednesday, it can be a story. So Thursday, maybe it can be environment-related activities. You can plan it in such a way. So prepare a small plan. Monday, this activity, these activities will help the children to develop these skills. And the moment you start doing it, you will get 101 ideas. So for example, if you feel, okay, critical thinking, I'm not getting any idea, please Google search, you will get 101 activities from there, and you can pick and choose the easiest ones. Weekly activity period. So when I started my career as a principal, before my previous principal also had started weekly activity period for the school. So what we did was, we have an activity period for the entire school. So standard 2 to 4 is on Tuesday, 5 to 7 is on Wednesday, and 8 and above on Thursdays. Like that we have arranged. And the first period, so people used to protest. First period, they are fresh, and you are having an activity period, wasting time. So the reason was, if we don't have it in the first period, if it's in the last period, by the time the children come into the assembly hall and get settled down, half the time will be gone. So what we do, immediately after the assembly, whichever class has that activity, they will stay back in the assembly hall. And we used to have activity periods, and we have this competitions at quarterfinal, semi-final, and final level, so that every student gets an opportunity to come up on the stage. And then there are so many activities that every student gets an opportunity to go up on the stage. Many schools I have seen, only a few students, they will be participating in all activities because the opportunities are limited. So when you have an activity period at the quarterfinal, semi-final level, and we make it compulsory that every student has to attend two on-stage activity, two off-stage activity. Off-stage activity means it can be, some literary activities, etc., other than sports. So that what we saw, that when we started the activity period, there was a lot of protest from the students, teachers, and all. But within a year, and maybe within 1 or 2 years, we saw that our students have become more confident, more active. They were happy to go and participate in inter-school activities, etc. Weekly hobby classes can be another way of inculcating 21st century skills. So how we had done in our school, I'm sure you must be having better ways of doing it. I'm just sharing one way of doing it. We used to have, again, hobby classes for standard 3 and above. So 3 to 5 on one day, Thursday, last 2 periods, and 6 and above, Friday, last 2 periods. So for the hobby classes, children irrespective of the classes, come for a hobby. So in a tabla class, there may be students from 3, students from 9 also. Standard 10, 11, 12, we never used to add them because by the time they have a huge syllabus load and all. So in any hobby, students from 3 to 9 will be sitting. It will be a mixed group. So imagine how much a lot of skills are picked up in this hobby classes where you have students from different standards coming together. And weekly also there we can offer hobbies. In our school we used to offer 26 hobbies. Even now in the 90s we used to offer 26 hobbies, right from drama, music, debate to cutting and tailoring, drawing, painting, and some of our teachers will be very good at it. So we can first give those hobby classes to those teachers, and we used to have some part-time teachers also. So this can be another way of inculcating 21st century skills. School functions like annual exhibition, prize night, all these programs will, because students are coming together, they have to collaborate, they have to work together, and somebody will be an announcer, somebody will be a performer. So these things help them to inculcate 21st century. So I'm talking about common practices. We will come to more, specific later. House as circle time may not have. So please read out circle time. So for the lower classes, it is a fantastic practice. At the day, students come together, sit in a circle, and just maybe 10 talk about how are my feelings, especially lower classes, lower KG, upper KG. So the children can't say I'm happy, and also you can have emojis. The children can pick up and say, "Today I feel like this," etc. And then you can have some conversation. So children become full confidence. They become spontaneous. They feel free to talk to the teachers about their emotions. So that is another one. Science and life sciences classes, I already talked about it. Peer help. I feel peer help is a very underestimated resource in many schools. And some schools do it. They say, we do peer help. But I strongly will recommend that if at all you are doing or you are not doing, please focus on peer help to inculcate values and 21st century skills. This will take a lot of load off the teacher's head, because the good students will be supporting the academically weaker students. So your job will come down a little bit, and the good students will become better and better, because whatever we teach, we become better and better at it. So you are helping the gifted students become better, and students understand their language better. They have more ease of communication. So communication skills improve, academic performance improves, children become more empathetic, compassionate, etc. We did it in our school because at that time when I was the principal, we used to have 55 to 60 students in every class. And most of the students came from lowest strata of society, and the parents were not educated, and we never wanted our parents to teach our children. We used to tell the parents, you don't need to teach our children. You are paying fees. Teaching the children is our job. Your job is to ensure that when your children come home, give them a proper place to sit and revise the day's lesson. So so this used to be our practice. After the first terminal examination, when I looked at the performance of the students, we saw that many students were failing in many subjects in our schools. And teachers said, ma'am, what can we do? 60 students in a class, and we have hardly 35 to 40 minutes. How can we do justice? And their complaint or the grievance was very, very natural. So just it came to my mind, why don't we ask the gifted children to help the weaker ones? So in the assembly, I asked the children, would you like to help your friends? So many students put up their hands. So we started this practice very informally. We told the class teacher, allow the children to select their buddies who will help them. And they started helping each other. And we created a supervised study period, last 35 minutes, where the children can sit with them, each other, and learn, or free periods during recess and all. So after the second term exam, when in the assembly, I asked the children, how many of you have got peer help? How many of you improved? Many hands went up. I told the children, come up on the stage and share. So many children came up. We could hear from a few of them. What I heard, I was not expecting. I thought they will come and say, okay, I passed in maths and all. Every pair came up and every student said, I'm so happy I was failing in maths. Now I'm passing. My friend helped me to, pass the exam. Now I am better in maths. And the person who helped, the child who helped, invariably will say, no, ma'am. He was so studious, so hardworking. I didn't have to do much. It's because of his effort. So the children not only improved their performance, they also learned to compliment each other, appreciate each other, being grateful, etc. So this is one practice I will very strongly endorse. If at all you don't have it, if you have it, look at it and improve on it, so that your workload is less, plus you are helping children to inculcate so many values at one go. So a little more they were simple practices which most of us are practicing. There are some strategies, practices which through which we can inculcate 21st century skills. I start with the simplest one, which everyone knows, which we have picked up in our B.Ed classes. Simple. Develop your lessons through question answers and discussions. Very simple. I remember I was on a round. I don't know. Some of you must have heard this story from me. I don't know. I was on a round and this teacher in standard 2 or 3 was teaching this lesson, Ganga. So the teacher was reading that lesson and the children were repeating it after her, like the parrots. And the children were so bored. So I entered the class with the permission from the teacher. I asked the children, okay, close the book, stand up, sit down. I did some exercise, made them do some exercise, and I started talking to. I did not know what was inside the lesson, but the lesson was Ganga. So I asked the children, from where Ganga kahan se bahti hai, kahan ki Ganga prasidh hai, and most of the children knew. So when somebody said Banaras ki Ganga prasidh hai, so one child puts up his hand, ma'am, I have been to Ganga in Banaras. So when I asked him what happened, why did you go? Oh, meri dadi ya nani ka death hua tha, to so I went to him and I said, oh, dadi ka death hua, kab hua? No, you miss her even now? A little conversation for 30 seconds. Then somebody said, ma'am, Bihar se bhi, Patna se bhi Ganga bahti hai. मेरा भाई का क्या मुंडन करने के लिए गया था. तो बोले, तुम्हारा एक भाई है, कितने बड़ा है वो, तुम उसको प्यार करता है? 30 seconds conversation. Children were enjoying this whole conversation and they knew everything. At the end, I said, oh, but Ganga ki pani to bahut pavitra hai na? So one said, no, ma'am, it's not pavitra. Why? Ma'am, they throw half dead bodies into the river. I'm talking about the 90s. Now it must not be happening with all those Ganga cleanliness drive and all. So he said, he had seen it. So look at that. Children knew everything, and this teacher was wasting their time and her time reading this lesson. And just think about it. When I did all these things, what all things happened in that class? Children got engaged. Many of them started answering. Those who were not answering, I started pulling them up to ask, coax them to answer, and they felt more confident. Communication skills improved. And when I went to them and asked them, I empathized with them about their grandmother's death, or congratulated for their brothers, siblings' birth, etc. Children also learned a little bit of social and emotional skills also. So there are immense possibilities when we develop a lesson through question answer. But for that, the teacher will have to read the lesson the previous day and come prepared for the class. This is the simplest way to develop 21st century skills if you don't want to do anything more. Second thing is, every lesson will have a value, whether it is math, science, now, whether it is history, English literature, see what value you can teach through this lesson. And ask the children, do you think there is any value which we can pick up from this lesson? Why? How this value will benefit us? That sort of a discussion. We can have small group discussions. See, again, I'm talking about practices which will reduce your workload. Teachers keep complaining about their workload. Since I was a teacher, I understand how much workload the teachers have. Correction, preparing for the lessons, and preparing for co-curricular activities. So I am giving you some practices which will reduce your workload. So you enter the class, ask the children, okay, do silent reading. These two first paragraphs you have to read silently. And then make small groups of 5 or 6, depending upon the number of students in your class. Ask them to share what they have understood. Some of them must not have understood anything. So they can learn from each other. In this small group, every child says, this is what I understood. So some child may say, no, this is not right. I think this is right. So they can, if they can't, come to an agreement, they can always raise the question to the teacher. So, and then once this small group discussions is done, the teacher can ask, okay, from every group, you tell to the whole class, what have you learned? And no repetition. So the 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs are covered within 40 minutes of a class without you doing much. So if the children say something wrong, you can correct, you can give them additional information, and your workload is less, but you are not going to sit down. When the children are discussing, go around, see how the communication is happening, help them to improve their communication. If they are saying something wrong, correct it, the way they talk, mannerism, so many things you can get. Another tried and tested way, it is a tried and true way, just tried and tested way is 3:2:1. You have completed a chapter or you have completed a portion, you can ask the children to write 3 things they think they know, 2 things they know they don't know, and 1 thing they are certain about the topic. So this 3:1, 2:1 ratio can change. It can be 3 things they don't know, 2 things they know, 1 thing they would like to know more about. So you can keep changing it. Imagine, so this again will enhance the curiosity of the children. The children will, and especially those children who want to prove themselves, they will try to learn and understand the lesson then and there because they want to prove themselves to others. And slowly you can bring their ego also down because when, over a period of time. So this can be another one. Do you agree these things are doable in classrooms? Anybody? I can only see Srividya and Snigdha. Srividya's video is off. Snigdha, so I have to, 2 of us will have a conversation, I suppose, unless somebody else wants to speak. Anybody else would like to respond? Are they easy practices? Doable or not? Snigdha?
Yes, ma'am. I do believe that these are the doable activities which we can do in class.
Some of you must be doing it. Please share if some of you are already doing it. Will you please share?
Yes, ma'am. Just to help you out with the chat box,
No.
we have Babita ma'am sharing that they are doing that in the classroom.
Wonderful.
And Shanti ma'am from LVS also has shared that they have seating arrangement like that when you were talking earlier a few minutes ago in their school where the students get peer help. So they feel more comfortable.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So this is what she has written.
Mm.
And many other responses are there. They are doing, and all these strategies, some of them, they are implementing it. Srividya ma'am is also writing, we can do this, but there is a limitation of time.
So, thank you for saying that. Ruchika, keep reading out the chats because I can't read.
Definitely, ma'am. Yashaswini ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Yashaswini ma'am also says that we always start with group discussions, and the chats are keep coming in, so I might not be able to read everybody's name.
And I see that already I have only 10 minutes left for this thing.
It's all right, ma'am. It's all right.
I can take 5 more, 10 minutes more. Is that
yes,
okay?
Ma'am, yes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So those who say there is a limitation of time, you just look at this. that there won't be any limitation of time, because now the responsibility is on the child, not on you in completing the portion. Number one. Secondly, again, NEP 2020 is talking about developing self-learners. Forget about NEP 2020. I think that should be one of our aims, to develop our children as self-learners, not children who mug up the lessons and reproduce. That is why we have, I'm sure every school will agree, there are hundreds of applications in their files, MA, MSc, B.Ed, M.Ed, etc. But then they are miserable failures in the classroom, on the classroom floor. So why? Because they have all mugged up and passed. Now we have to ensure that our children learn on their own. So if you start developing, so I let me go back. So this Ganga, that lesson, that was one lesson, I finished it within 35 minutes because I discussed and the answers came from the children. Please try it out next time. The problem is, most of the times we feel we have to teach. As teachers, we have to teach. Number one. Second is, some of us say the children don't know. These days, in every class, there are some students who know more than us. So we have to try, but please try it and see whether it takes more time or less time. Same way, if you say do it small group discussion, especially the school already has that sort of a sitting facility, and so it's so easy for the children to sit, discuss, debate, and you are giving, out of 40 minutes, you are giving 15 minutes, 10 minutes for the children to read, 10 minutes for the children to discuss. Then again, 40 minutes, even 5 minutes, if every group shares their main learning without repeating, you will be able to finish those 2 paragraphs without you doing much. And the first day, definitely it will be a challenge. Once the children learn it, it will become a habit. They will, the more nerve connections are made in their brains, you will see it will take less and less time. Okay. 10 by 10 exercise. Again, this is another this thing for you to reduce your workload. You can ask the children to read to whatever portion. Today's portion is 3 paragraphs. Children, you read, and as you are reading, you have to prepare 10 questions. 10 minutes reading, 10 questions you have to make. And don't punish children. Oh, you made only 5. How many made 10? How many? No. Just ask them, make 10 questions. So you can't prepare a question unless you understand that lesson, isn't it? How can you, if I write gibberish, nobody can, and ask the children, okay, you prepare 10 questions. It's not possible. So the children have to read and understand. Again, you are just walking around the class, supervising that no one is wasting their time. They are reading. So half the work is done in the classroom. And children will feel more and more confident. Children will learn that we can learn. Some children feel, I can't learn, I can't understand. You are proving to them, you can learn, you can understand. I am there to support you. I need not talk much about flipped learning. We all did it during COVID days. You tell the children, give them lecture materials and presentations, and tell them, view it at home. In the classroom, we will discuss. That is history, geography, or science. Give the topic and give some YouTube links or some presentations, etc. They all come prepared. Some children will not come prepared. That's okay. But when you are discussing, who are those children who are not doing it. So when you are doing conducting this lesson, when you are discussing, ensure that you are including those children. You are asking them to repeat what they have heard, etc. So again, they say flipped learning. The studies show that it has got a very high percentage of success in the classrooms, and it will be a very good practice for teachers. The next one, teams of students teaching the lessons. So we have done this. Again, I was a principal between 91 and 2000. I'm talking about that time. We had this practice that every subject in the second term, one of the easiest lessons in every subject we give to the students, and students who are very good in that subject have to make teams of 4 or 5 and teach. So we ensure, the class teacher ensure that no children is left out. So the children form their own small groups and they are so excited to teach the lesson. Sometimes they make mistakes, so the teacher can help them to do the correction. And then again, what happens? Studies show that those who teach, their learning becomes more permanent. What I have written here, studies show that who prepare to teach outperform their counterparts in both, what is that, Ruchika? Both and depth of learning. It is. I can't read the, I think I should. In both duration and depth of learning, scoring 9% higher on factual recall after the lessons concluded, and 24% higher on their abilities to infer
Ability to make inferences.
Make inferences. Imagine. So again, your job is less. You just tell them, you ask the children, okay, this lesson has to be taught by you. So who are the children who are ready to do? So maybe 2 paragraphs, one period you can give to for one group. The next period you can give to another group. The children come prepared, and we have seen children prepare such beautiful aids, and then they come and present the lesson. They try to outperform their teachers. So, and this is a beautiful way of inculcating 21st century skills. Project-based learning, I think it needs another session to talk about project-based learning. Again, studies show that project-based learning helps the children to inculcate 21st century skills as well as values like, empathy, all those values. Then the last one, support struggling learners right from the beginning. What happens is, the lower classes, we feel after all they are in standard 1, 2, 3, they will become all right when they are in the higher classes. We have to support those children right from, foundational years, right from lower KG, nursery, lower KG, upper KG, so that, the basic is laid properly. So simple practices to inculcate values in children. I have to now rush. Start with oneself. Very simple. If my own jar is empty, how can I fill others' jar? So if a teacher comes and says, okay, you should be on time, you should be punctual, you should not tell lies, and children see that the teacher doesn't come on time, the teacher tells lies sometime, that value education class is of no use. So first you have to start with ourselves. We have to start with ourselves. We have to build those skills and values in ourselves. Create a positive school culture. I keep sharing this, whatever be the question, love is the answer, should be the culture of every school. Deal people, all stakeholders, right from the security guard to the parents, to the students, your teachers, treat them with love, kindness, acceptance, and respect. There is, again, a lot of studies which has shown that if you have a positive school culture, academic excellence improves, behavior, character improves. Build relationships. Again, relationships also go a long way in improving academic performances and behavior of students. You remember the teachers who took care of us, who were very loving and caring. We were very good in their subjects. We studied those subjects because we loved the teacher. So we have to build student-teacher relationships. So I normally do one session on how to build student-teacher relationship, because there are so many nuances, which will help the teacher not only to build student-teacher relationship, but also improve the classroom culture and classroom ambience. Teacher looping can be a beautiful practice. Anybody knows what is teacher looping? I think I had shared last time. The same teachers going with the same class for multiple years, maybe 3 years. The same class teacher goes with the same class, so that the teacher doesn't waste time in knowing every child's background every other year. So I am the class teacher of standard 1. I know all my students and parents. I go with the same class for standard 2 and 3, so that I know now their background. Now I can work with them. Then positive phone calls. We normally call up parents to complain about their children. Here we try to call up parents to say something nice about their children. Then parent-school partnership, again, research says if the parents and schools work together, academic excellence happens, behavior improves. So we can have orientation meetings, involve them in school functions, so many things. We can call them as a resource person to tell stories to children, to do a motivational talk, or do some experiments in science, etc. Another practice which I love, which we had implemented in our school, I think we must be the first school to implement this practice of invigilation less examination. I don't know whether I'm right. In the year 1995, I hadn't heard anybody doing it. We used to have an invigilation less exam where students used to sit without any invigilator, but not compulsory, voluntary. So those children who feel, very sure that I will not cheat, they are allowed to sit for the invigilationless examinations. So the children, they used to tell me, ma'am, we feel more confident, our high self-esteem rises because we feel, we are trusted and we have got self-control. So you can try invigilationless exams for children starting with lower classes. Give them very simple rules. See, cheating is not good. It's unethical, it's whatever you write on your own, that shows your confidence level. All those pep talk you give simple instructions and tell them to sit for invigilationless exam. So the teachers are not there in the rooms and the children sit for the exam. After the exam, teachers come and collect their answer papers. Multi-faith prayers and introducing all festivals during morning assemblies. I'm sure the second one, most of you must be having. Normally, after, Eid, one student talks about why Eid is celebrated, how it is celebrated. If it is, Deepavali, somebody talks about it, so that the children get to know about different religions, their culture, festivals, etc. Multi-faith prayer is a beautiful practice we can do. Either we can have every day, different prayers of different faiths, or you can have once in a month where different prayers from different religions are offered. I'm rushing because I have to finish. Then simple practices, smile. So people may ask, if you smile, it will help inculcate values. Definitely, because when you smile, you become positive. You become more confident about yourself. When you smile, others smile at you. So that develops acceptance and respect and love for each other. So you smile first when you enter the class with a big smile and tell the children, hey, why don't you smile? Always remember to wear a smile. Greet students at the door. There was a research and they found out that if the teachers greeted the children at the door, academic performance improved and better behavior prevailed. Just standing at the door, maybe shaking hands or saying a namaste or just smiling or wishing a good morning, just asking children, hey, you look so happy today. What is the matter? Hey, look little down. Everything is okay. You are fine. So a little bit of conversation with children will improve academic performance and improve behavior. How? Children feel valued. When they feel valued, automatically they become more disciplined. They listen to you. Because at every age, at my age, at your age, at the age of 3, we all need love, attention, and acceptance. When we get that, we thrive. Listen to them and look for cues in their attitude and behavior. Many smart teachers can find out, if a child is suffering from some sort of emotional problems or some family issues, they will be able to locate it, especially in this case when you are greeting your children at the door. Weekly story periods, especially stories from our culture and traditions. NEP also talks about that. Our country is full of such beautiful stories, such wonderful, amazing stories. So in our schools, we used to have a story period up to standard 4. I'm just rushing without asking you for your opinions and all. Somebody asked Albert Einstein, we want our children to be a genius like you. What should we do? His answer was, tell your children stories. So they said, that we will do. What else should we do? He said, tell them more stories. Look at the importance of stories. It will enhance creativity, critical thinking, empathy, compassion, all those things, especially in the lower classes where children at their most impressionable age. So we should have a story period, preferably tell the story in their local, in their mother tongue, so that the children can understand better. Inspire students to read biographies, autobiographies of great people. Those days when children used to commit some mistakes, I used to give them this punishment: read one chapter from Gandhiji's biography, or Swami Vivekananda, somebody, depending upon the mistake he has done. We used to tell him, read and share in the assembly. What have you read? What did you learn? One chapter or something, not the entire textbook. So we can even inspire them to read. Maybe after reading one chapter, the child may be interested in completing the book. Again, research says yoga and mindfulness practices are wonderful medium to help children inculcate values. In the West, there is a buzz around mindfulness. In almost all the schools in the US, mindfulness has become a part and parcel of their school day. So in our country, even though it has started from here, we are now, some schools have already implemented, and we can think of implementing it. Value of the month, every month we can say, okay, this, so it's so important for the school to decide what values you want to abide by, and put up around the school. These are the values which we will abide by, maybe compassion, gratitude, whatever, empathy. So the whole school knows, all stakeholders know, even the visitors know that this school upholds these values, and we can have a value of the month. So this month, the value is compassion. So you can have a lot of whatever activities are there, it can be around compassion. Appoint teachers who exemplify these values and skills for moral science life skills classes. Normally, moral science life skill classes, any teacher who is free, we know it. I'm sorry, some schools, some of us allotted. That will not serve the purpose. We have to appoint teachers especially for moral science and life skill classes who exemplify such values. So those people should be allotted the classes, so the children can see those values being lived by these teachers. Then it becomes more authentic. Children feel, okay, that is why this teacher is so, she's such a kind and caring person. She has an aura around her. She's so approachable. So I would like to be like her. So important. Who will teach the moral science and life science skills classes? So discuss, debate on current topics, incidents during value education classes. So all the more important why experts should be there, because if there is there was a death, a teen committed suicide, you want to discuss in the classroom. So any teacher can't discuss it, because we, all of us, may not have that sort of a depth and understanding to discuss such a topic. So that's the reason we should need very skilled people who will be able to moderate such a discussion, why he must have committed suicide, what he should have done, what should we do to, if at all, to help our friends, etc. Trained mental health buddies among students. We can even train a few of our students. I think CBSE, that Mano Darpan, that program, they have this program, I feel. Otherwise, also we can select a few students who are very compassionate, who have leadership skills, to be mental health buddies, to help them to support, emotionally support their friends and all. It needs a village to raise a child, it's said. So the school can promote support groups of students and parents. You should encourage them to come together in standard 5A, maybe 5 or 6 parents come together, and they take care of their children together. Maybe parents who are staying in the neighborhood, meeting once in a week, talking about their children's problem, helping the children to play together. So every school can think of such plans. Again, introspection sheet for resolving student indiscipline and violence. So we used to give a sheet to the children when 2 children fight, or 3, 4 of them fight. We give them a sheet saying what happened, where did it start, how did it continue, like, do you think? So there are a few questions. Who is responsible? Am I responsible? If I'm responsible, what am I going to do? So we give them 5-10 minutes time, but don't allow them to sit alone. Somebody should be there around, because they must be angry and upset, and all. Ask them to sit down quietly, cool down, and then fill this sheet, and then talk to them. Community work, volunteering activities, I'm sure all the schools have. Visit old age home, Cheshire home, blood donation camps. All these things will help the children to imbibe values. And active eco club and environment related activities, I am sure every school has an eco club. But I think in the current situation, we have to enhance the activities, because we are going to have terrible times ahead. That's what experts say. So we have to, help to build a cleaner, greener neighborhood. At least we can't create a cleaner and greener country, but at least a neighborhood. My favorite suggestion to school is, can you adopt half a kilometer or 1 kilometer, or even the road on which your school stands? Can you adopt that place and turn it into a prototype of green, clean, compassionate, prototype of our country? So, if you can't do it for 1 kilometer, at least the road on where your school stands, can we keep it clean, beautiful, so that everyone walks into that road saying, "Hey, this is something beautiful." And behavior is contagious. Seeing the others may start emulating you. Partnered with neighborhood schools, government and private alike. So you may say, already you said, "Ma'am, these are all such wonderful activities, but curriculum load, so much to do, syllabus to be completed. Where is the time? Who will, take care of it?" So my answer is very simple. Schedule community work, volunteering activities in your school annual calendar. I'm sure most of us must be doing it. In the annual calendar only, which day you will have a blood donation camp, which day you will go to the village, everything is listed. Identify a few passionate ones amongst your teachers, students, and parents about community development activities, and make a team. In every school, in every group, there'll be people having different passions. And I am 100% sure there'll be some children who are very passionate teachers, parents who are very passionate about community development activities. Make a team. And the school leader, the principal, can prepare a very simple do's and don'ts and the activities, hand it over to them and tell them, plan it properly and come back to me and tell me how you are going to execute it. So maybe first year it will be a challenge, then it will become just a part of your system. This is what happens in our school. I'm sure most of you must be also having it. Our annual calendar is there. Every year with this now laptop, computers, you have to simply delete the dates. You have to only put the fresh dates. Most of the activities remain there. If you want to add or delete some activities, you are free to do that. I think this will help us to build values in children. And the last slide of mine, the daily fives. I love to share this practices. We can have a daily fives. Why daily fives? Whatever you do in a daily basis, it becomes our, habit and character. So we can have a daily kindness practice. We call it karma banking. I think I have talked about it last time. Maybe some of you were not there. So every day, inspire your children to do one kind act. So Adam Grant, professor from Wharton University, talks about doing a 5 minutes favor. He says behavior is contagious, kindness is contagious. So you do a 5 minutes favor every day. Seeing you, many people will start doing it. And research says kindness again has multiple benefits for our physical, mental, emotional health. Again, it will help the students in academics, etc. Daily mindfulness practice. After the assembly, when the children go to the class, first 5 minutes, have a mindfulness practice. You can get an expert to teach you. Some of you must be having it. So otherwise, simply focusing on the breath, just sit down. Again, the question will come, ma'am, where is the time? But research says, if you invest in practices like this, automatically the other workload is going to come down, because the children become more focused, with mindfulness, concentration improves, empathy, kindness, all these pro-social skills are enhanced if you practice mindfulness every day. You become calmer, physical, mental, emotional benefits again. So every day have a 5-minute mindfulness practice. And at the end of the day, the whole day, there is so much of chahal pahal. At the end of the day, 5 minutes, the entire school, right, preferably right from the principal to the security guard, if possible, one sits down quietly for 5 minutes and do some inner listening. Inner listening means listen to your inner voice, listen to your conscience, what Gandhiji used to say, that still small voice in us. What good did I do today? What am I grateful for? Did I do something wrong? What can I do for about it? Such simple questions you can give the children, so the children will become, and then they two of them should share by turn. So how it will help? It will help the children to become more confident, say sorry more easily. It will bring down their ego, and they will become more and more grateful. And again, gratitude practice. They say gratitude is the mother of all virtues. If we can instill the practice of gratitude in children, again, you will be surprised to hear, maybe some of you must be knowing it, gratitude can enhance academic performance and behavior. So these are some of the practices which you can do to inculcate values. Some useful links. If you want to know more about on value education, you can click on this link. I will share this PPT with Ruchika already has it. She can share it with her. And Edutopia is a wonderful website worth subscribing for each one of you. And if at all, if any one of you feel free, want to reach out to me, talk to me, please feel free to write to me or call me up. I'll be very happy to talk to you. Because I was in a hurry, I was just, I kept on talking towards the end. So if you have some doubts, if you have some suggestions, please write to me. I'll be happy to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening to me so patiently. I've taken 15 minutes extra. Sorry, Mayank. I am so sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruchika, for this opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And it was really a wonderful session, and got to know really a lot of points in terms of 5 pointers and very concrete strategies that teachers can actually implement in the classroom. And now I think you will have time to maybe go through the chat, because I could not read everything to you because you were in a hurry as well, like you mentioned. So we could see that throughout the session, people were mentioning that they are doing this and that. Presentation helps, and seating arrangement, like I shared with you. So there are a lot of other things that people have written as well. Maybe that'll help you in understanding what was going on in their mind while they were listening to you as well. So thank you so much, ma'am, for so much energy and for so long. At the same time, I would like to now request all of the participants to be attentive for another part, because of course ma'am has shared that there are so many strategies and so many practices which makes our classrooms values infused, where in everyday practices we can share values, we can teach character, not just in the four walls but across campus as well. And that is also something we are trying to do through different efforts at Val-Ed initiatives. And most of you already know about it, since it is happening in your schools, and some of the teachers over here are taking Saksham classes as well. But to give you a context, like we did in the beginning, I would like to now invite Mayank to share with us what exactly Val-Ed, how exactly basically Val-Ed helps in implementing some of these strategies in one way or the other into the schools. So over to you, Mayank.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ruchi. Thank you so much, Vijayam, ma'am. I'm so glad that you took the 15 minutes. I don't mind giving up the rest of my session also for you, because I have only seen people becoming richer by listening to you, right? And all the remarks which a lot of people have written in the chat box, I think that comes from a very genuine, authentic love and gratitude that they've had for you because of all the wonderful sharings that you've done from a very rich experience of teaching thousands of families and children. You are truly, ma'am. If there was an award in for teachers specifically, I would give you Padma Vibhushan for teaching for sure. Because I've read, I've seen, I've spoken to Vijay ma'am, and for all the attendees over here, to be intelligent is easy because you can get that from books, right? But to be authentic is very difficult. So that's the only thing you can do, which is simply defined by your own actions, by the way you treat people, by the way you are as a human being, your actions, your reflections. And I can tell this to you for a fact that Vijay ma'am is 22 carat gold, right? Absolutely, absolutely wonderful person. That's the reason why I recommended Vijay ma'am's name to Ruchi. I'm like, you should speak to her and she'll have wonderful ideas and she'll really give her heart and soul out. So please accept, Vijay ma'am, all of our collective thanks for
Thank
what
you.
you have done, right? I will try to do justice by taking this further ahead, as Ruchi mentioned, how, some of these ideas, how exactly it happens. So a lot of the questions which, educators today who've kind of gathered in over here, I think the difference between our regular sessions and this is that today we also have a science teacher, a math teacher, a language teacher, probably a physical education teacher, and so on and so forth. So there's a mix of teachers with different subjects teaching different age groups. Now, all of you must be wondering that what exactly is it that Val-Ed does or Saksham does, which we haven't been doing or we haven't done or thought of, which makes our school want to tie up with Val-Ed, right? Um, in my presentation, I will try to answer and share some of these things. Not every single thing is unique, but what you'll be able to see is how it all comes beautifully together. And to have a partner who's devoted to character, values, life skills, and social emotional learning education helps you focus on your core areas, gives you the help and a huge network from which you can extract the best of things. And that's essentially what we do, right? I'm going to share a presentation and I'm going to share with you, some of the unique things which we do. All of it may or may not be in your school, but you will surely get an idea of what we do as an organization, which is very important for you to know. And in your support, our organization and our program will be able to do deeper work with you. So get ready to see something very unique and very interesting across in the next 10 minutes. Here's the first thing, right? The intent of our program or of our organization is to build righteousness, goodness, and empowerment. As reflect upon you as a teacher, a lot of you, when you started off, you wanted not just to raise good, engineers and collectors and doctors, but you also wanted to make a good nar or a good nari, right? Which is a good human being. And a good human being has these things in common over here. So how do we build righteousness in our children today? Goodness, authentic goodness, and empowerment so that they can live life fullest. That's what our organization's objective is. So what essentially we do, which are split into two categories, right? We do something called well-being infrastructure, and we do something called Saksham program. Uh, these well-being infrastructure is a very interesting concept, right? Because what that means is essentially that imagine in your school, if you had physical infrastructure that could inspire positive well-being, values, right behavior, reflection, right? All of our schools are generally, broken up into different, pieces which we call as classrooms. You have a lab, you have a playground, you have an entrance, you have an exit. So very similar layouts. But when your walls can teach, when your corridors can speak, when your corners can start, inspiring children, imagine what your school becomes that way. I'm about to show that to you, dear teachers, right? We do two types of infrastructure. One are standalone elements, which you can install in any part of the school. And there is something called a lab. You've heard of a science lab, a physics lab, or math lab. Imagine a values lab. So I'll show you what that looks like, right? So here's my first thing on the elements part of it. Imagine if in your school you had a place called the forgiveness pond, where it's a place for practicing healthy forgiveness, where children can de-escalate cycle of conflict. Imagine there's one place where children go whenever they've had a fight with each other to just let go and become friends and humans again, right? So it's a place called just the forgiveness pond in your school. What if you had a giving area? Ma'am spoke so much about kindness, right? A karma bank. Imagine if you had a bank where you could kind of collect all kind of, physical food, materials, groceries, stationery, all of that can be given out. And every week, one class is basically, collecting the whole thing and going out and actually giving it by their own hands. So this is an example of a giving area. Imagine if in your schools you are a de-stress area, a place where, when child is frustrated, teacher is frustrated, parent is frustrated, you can just go and color and scribble, right? So this is an art therapy along with this as well, right? Imagine if in your school you had a gratitude and appreciation station. What that does is it reminds you there are so many things to be grateful about, but it also inspires other people, right, to be grateful of the things that this world is there. Imagine you're able to appreciate someone, builds the right kind of a connect. When you go to school, you want to create it as a place of healing, not just learning. So is your school a place of healing? Something worth for you to think about, right? Self-affirmation is such an important thing when it comes to mindset. If wherever you want your children to have a stronger mindset, remember self-affirmation is very important. So we created this kind of a space where we're trying to tell children to have the right kind of, self-talk language, So this is a dedicated area which helps children start and end their days on positive self-affirmations. Imagine if in your school you had a meditation pod, a place where they can simply be, quiet and by themselves. Imagine the kind of, impact that creates. Imagine there were a place called Inspiration Area where you actually had the names and the photos and the stories of those people who could be truly role models to us. Remember, we have to expand beyond Jawaharlal Nehru, beyond Abdul Kalam, beyond Mahatma Gandhi, because today's children are seeing different role models, right? So how do we break those who are known and those who are unknown? My Guruji says, wo jo prakat hue aur wo jo aprakat hai, right, which have been there. Many people have died for the freedom of our country, but only a few names have become very famous. So ensuring that they know the stories of those people is important. So it's not the name which inspires, it's the story which inspires. Imagine if you had a fail board in your staff rooms, for example, right? Imagine if staff room, there's a place where you're celebrating that ma'am tried something, it didn't happen, but she really had a big heart when she was trying this. When we do this, we remove the shame and apprehension around failure. Even the word fail means first attempt in learning, right? Your restrooms can be converted into, whenever a child is upset, they want to go to the washroom because they'll get their single privacy over there. So imagine even the mirrors over there can be converted into positive words which uplift their mood when they are inside over there. So imagine your whole school getting converted to a different place. I'll show you an amazing element which we've merged 2-3 things together on, right? This is called as the values tunnel, right? So imagine every day, small young children are hopscotching their way on positive words, right? And they are, starting their day with the promise to encourage someone or to laugh or to try something new. They can give a swirl at a values wheel. They can look at themselves and start their day with a smile. So imagine a values loving tunnel that they started with, a day which says that you are beautiful the way you are, right? So that's something which we've done. Now let me show you about what a values lab is, right? What if your children had a scientifically designed, inspiring place to learn about values? There's a difference when you're taught values inside the classroom and when you're taken to a place devoted to teaching values. The difference is God is there everywhere, right? You can remember God everywhere. But there's a reason why we go to temples, because it's easier to concentrate, to focus on the aura, makes us inspired over there, right? So I'm about to show you a place which is devoted for teaching values in this manner. Look at the kind of places we've tried to create in one regular classroom space, which we've transformed into a place, right? Imagine it feels almost like they are in Disneyland for values, right? Right? Imagine that there are different seating areas. There's a bridge where they can stand and they can speak. There's a gratitude. There's a storytelling corner, and so on and so forth. Right? This is an example. Can we mute everyone? Saloni,
Yes, Mayank. I just did that.
no
I think it was by mistake.
Yeah, no issues. Right. Imagine if you had for your older children an area like this. I'm very happy to see that this specific space was inaugurated by Sudha Murthy ma'am herself, right? Someone who's such a role model to a lot of us over here, specifically made for the middle and higher grades in Bangalore, where there are growth mindset areas. There is a conflict resolution space, the box which you can see over there, where they're learning to practice how to resolve conflicts as a group in a healthy manner, right? This is something which is on the concept of 6 thinking hats. So a lot of you who actually mentioned that we have group discussions, I'd like to highly encourage you to look at 6 thinking hats, which is a very amazing way of learning how to have discussions. We actually do sessions on that. So if in case, some of our teachers over here are interested, you can please let your coordinators know from Val-Ed or Ruchika know, and we will organize a session for you on 6 thinking hats. You can use this in any classroom, but it makes the conversation so much more richer and makes people think from 6 thinking different perspectives. So we made a lab out of the same philosophy for that school. Here's something which is made on purely Indian theme, right? Where you can see there are chakras on top, there's blues and there are bells, there are Nidar Satya, there is path of Sanskar, and so on so places. So n number of elements on the top. So the whole point being, right, one of the things that Val-Ed does very uniquely, in some of your schools we are doing, and we're building this and we're designing this, is that we are uplifting the environment that children are, so that every day is filled with these values. It's not just a teacher who will teach, it's the environment also which teaches. And all of this is backed with scientific evidence that physical infrastructure have direct influence on learning outcomes and on learning morale and on positivity. So let's move ahead to the program itself. So what exactly are some of your colleagues doing in this program, right? How is this value education class very different from the regular ones? So let's start with that journey, right? So firstly, what is Saksham? Saksham is a long-term curriculum integrated program, which means that when we tied up with your school, we've tied up for the whole year, right? Our focus is values, life skills, and social emotional learning. Our focus is not just children, but also all school stakeholders. That's one of the reasons why we are spending this time with you, to share with you how you can also be part of this journey. As a part of the program, every week there is one class, which is part of the timetable where these sessions have been happening. What makes this program unique from a regular values education class? Do you remember when we were in school, we had something called moral science, right? Where, we used to learn a few stories, there used to be true or false, there used to be what if you were there, who said to whom, and so on and so forth. So it had a good direction to it, but in the last 30, 40 years, there hasn't much which anyone can say has hugely evolved in that context. Right? So here are the 5 things which makes it. So what's the difference in the intent of Saksham's program versus a regular one, right? So Saksham's intent is Achai, Sachai, and Uchai. So Achai essentially means goodness. Goodness comes from ethical consciousness, right? So how do we build values in our children, which is going to help them want to be good people, right? Second thing is, if you want to be good, you also need to have the skills to be good, which means that if you don't have the right life skills, you can't follow your values. I'll give an example. Punctuality, right, is a value. Life skills, time management is a life skill. Because if you can't manage your time, very difficult to be punctual. So you see, that's the balance. The third one is how to live your life to the fullest potential. So if you have the right kind of values, if you have the right kind of skills, now how do you use these gifts and these choices to make the world a better place, to make your life more meaningful and purposeful? That's the third one. These 3 intentions are what every Saksham teacher is trying to achieve inside that classroom. Right? And at an intent level, we believe that this is not just for children, it's for parents and teachers. That's fine. Every 3 months, there are events which are being organized in your school. Maybe there's already an event which has been organized or just about to be organized. But in this year, you will at least experience 2 events where either a parent, student, or teacher are going to be uplifted in some way or the other. So all of us are learning together. Right? The second thing, the curriculum. So how exactly is our curriculum different? So our curriculum is very unique because we have a customized curriculum. There is no textbook of Saksham, by the way. Like all subjects have a textbook, there's no textbook because every school has chosen their own curriculum. I'll give you an example. These are, for example, you can see there are 7 values. There are 3 life skills. We have given you about 10 different options for every single grade. And your schools have chosen from that, keeping that in mind. Some of them even have changed some of these values and added something else. We've allowed for that level of customization. And for each grade, you can see how with every grade, the topics differentiate. Right? You can see, for example, there is compassion, honesty, responsibility at grade 6. And when you go to grade 9, it goes towards gratitude and cyberbullying and perseverance, which is in line with the kind of need of that age group and which has been sourced from the children. Look at the kind of values which life skills which they're learning, right? Because while we're teaching them these things, also equally important to teach them, example, things like mindful shopping, which is an application of those values. Right? So after we've kind of developed our curriculum in that way, the kind of lesson plans which your Saksham are delivering has come from 2 places. There is a science of character, which is a lot of frameworks of counseling, child psychology, emotional intelligence, but also there is modern approaches like Panchatantra, Jataka. There are stories from different fables across the world that we have taken both of it up together and we do it. Ma'am was mentioning about anything and anything being a human Indian and a institutional support to. Mutual. Okay, great. Thank you. Right. So these 2 put together gives you a blended approach to content development. The third difference is the pedagogy. All of Saksham teachers have gone through a foundational and an advanced training program. They have learned a special technique called ERRT, which means experience, reflection, realization, and transformative action. These 4 steps is how we design every lesson plan, and every lesson plan is delivered also. So children are made to go through an experience. They're asked questions. We've taught them a technique of asking the right kind of questions, which makes children think and reflect on their actions and on themselves. After that reflection, we've helped them how to lead them towards realization, and from those realization, how to inspire them towards taking action. This technique has been taught to all of them, and this is being used, which has superior returns and results on the impact on children. Our classroom experience is intended to be experiential, discussion-based, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, enjoyable. That's why sometimes Section Plus are very noisy, right? Because everyone gets a chance to speak. Sometimes they are inquiry-driven, which means that there are ups and downs inside the classes. There's a lot of noise which get created, but there's a lot of reflective, silent moments also. It's a very active class. I highly encourage you sometime, if you wish to, please go and have a look at these Section classes and also help us know what can we do better. So, for grade 4 and above, we do something called project-based learning. So students have been given this opportunity to work on 6-week-long projects, which they're going to be doing right after Navratri gets over, where they will be part of awareness campaigns, voter drives, income generation projects, adoptions, and so on and so forth. So children will solve a real-world problem where they get to apply these values and to learn through these projects as well. This has one of the highest learning retentions and activations as a teaching technique. Next, we have something which we do called special value assemblies. These are micro learning plans, right? So you would have seen in your school, maybe there was something called World Coconut Day or International Day of Non-Violence, and so on and so forth. So almost every month we have 1 or 2 different options which we give as an assembly, which your school and your Saksham teachers have been part of organizing, which gives children and parents and teachers different opportunities to celebrate these wonderful days as a part of our learning experience, right? As a part of school-wide culture building, a lot of your management and your leadership team is going to be trained on what policy-based practices that they can take, which is going to create an environment where values is the norm, where values is the culture. There's a difference called values education and values-based education. When you are teaching values, it is called as value education, which is inside a classroom. But when your entire education is based on values, it is called as values-based education. The goal is always to go upwards towards making everything an integrated approach and where everyone is working together. Right? So this culture building practices will soon come into your classrooms through your management and your leaderships once they're trained by us as well. Next up, right? Values events. So I told you about how parents are going to be in. There are 2 types of events: exclusive school events, which will be done physically in your school, and global events, which your school gets to participate in. I'll give an example of this whole process, right? A blindfolded conversation is a very unique event where parents are not speaking with their children, but with someone else's child, right? And they're having conversations on topic which has been put across to them by a facilitator on stage. Often by listening to someone else's child, you come to know what your child is going through. And by listening to someone else's parent, you realize what your parent is going through, right? So these are kind of an example of an event. Here's an event called Charan Sparsh, where children and parents are sitting with their own family, because without making the family a stronger unit, very difficult. These are very strong, emotionally connecting, responsibility, building events where parents really, really value the school and the teacher who's basically wanting to create a stronger family for them as well. And it promotes understanding, love, trust, and dignity amongst children and parents. Here's an example of a global event, right? So a lot of times, your children get an opportunity for being part of international global dialogues where they build perspective and unity through international dialogues with students in the other part of the world. This year, we did something called Flashback 1947. A lot of you over here, I could see some of the names of schools have participated in this. Almost about 1,000 people participated in different ways. We had 65 different movies which was made across as a part of this process as well, right? If I have... Okay, have a look at this.
Mayank,
Mhm.
just a suggestion. I think we can share this later because of Zoom screen share, it's not
Fair.
that clear.
Fair. No, thank you so much for mentioning it, right? So we'll show this across to you as well, right? These are master classes where children and parents and teachers today this year will get the opportunity of learning from real life heroes who've kind of really lived a life of values, which all of us can learn from as well. So imagine this is an opportunity which all of you will get soon as well, right? This is something which we're introducing very shortly, where children will have the opportunity to be part of short excursions that will teach them about values in a different way. So that this is the 2 ways, right? Nature and nurture. All of us are doing the nurturing inside the school environment, right? But nature has its own way of teaching, human beings, all of us included. So imagine children going on a trip which is screen free, which is junk food free, which is bonding with nature, which is, reflective on their relationships, it has a great impact. So this is something which will school be given as an option to a lot of your students in the world. Again, another example where they're getting an opportunity to do this part. And okay, great. Right. From an educator angle, right, in some of your schools, right, we've had selected educators from your school who's been delivering this whole program. And in some of your schools, we have our hired educators coming and visiting. Depending on which management has chosen, we have both of them. And the ones who have been chosen from your school, they've actually gone through a teacher eligibility test, which is a framework which has helped us choose the ideal educators. Maybe a lot of you wrote this TET as well. And after that, we kind of went through a long process to balance out, different academic requirements, timing, age group, and so on and so forth. And we chose those people across. So it's a scientific way of choosing who would probably be the best suited to take this program ahead to its fullness. All teachers in our program go through a very deep, nice training program. So for example, they've gone through a foundational program. There are a lot of advanced training program, which happens on a bi-monthly basis. All teachers in the school are oriented and trained, just like what you're going through right now. There's a reason for that. There's a nationwide teacher community collaboration. So there's a sharing of best practices, which happens on a monthly basis, where children and teachers have the opportunity to do the same. We have an educator portfolio, which means that all teachers of this program are actually tracked, and we kind of see the growth of those educators through our teacher journey team. The leadership team in your school also go through a certificate training, which helps school principal heads and HODs kind of move ahead in that direction. And we also provide a lot of self-learning resources which help them. So I hope I've been able to create a perspective which gives you an idea of how this whole thing comes together. And it's what we are trying to do at your school to make an impact through the Saksham program and Val-Ed initiatives. So with that, I will give it back to Ruchika to take this program ahead. It was an absolute wonderful pleasure for me to share all of this with you. Of course, it's a short period of time, but today's my intent was to share what the Saksham program does. Hopefully in the future, I will have another opportunity to share some more techniques and specific methods that you can bring. My ending message will be that all of us only and only together can make a difference. You cannot actually outsource value education to anyone for that matter. We can be a partner in it for you. We can be a associate for you in that, but it cannot be outsourced to us. So your place is irrefutable. Your place is irreplaceable. We hope that you will see value in the kind of intent and effort that we are putting in. Hopefully we can make the lives of a few children and a few families in your school much, much better, transformed, and overall build the kind of environment which makes all of your life stress-free, lesser violence, more joy in the effort that you're putting in, and hopefully also be able to create a great nation and a great world in that process. So that's our intention. We hope that you will support us in this entire journey, and we are here 101% to support you as well. Thank you so much. Ruchika, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mayank, for that.
Ruchika, can I come in for a second?
Definitely, ma'am, please.
What a wonderful presentation it was, Mayank. I'm feeling bad that I had taken away your time. You could have spent more time on explaining it more better, even though we got a fair idea about the excellent work you are doing. Hats off to you for conceptualizing the whole thing. God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayank, for briefing that part in such a short period of time. The entire year's vision has been just come down to just a few minutes. That is good to hear. Now, at the same time, I would like to open this platform to our participants. If anybody wants to mention anything, ask anything, we can do that. And same thing goes on to our YouTube viewers as well. We have some viewers on YouTube as well. If you want to mention something, you can go ahead in the stream comment and mention that, because we are reading it. So you can do that as well. So I'll just pause for a few minutes. If anybody wants to mention anything, please go on. Hey, the silence again.
We have already overshot the time, so people may
Yes,
be
probably. So with that, let me Yes, ma'am. So I am just pasting this form link in our Zoom chat as well as on YouTube chat. So this is only for the participants. Now I just see that in our YouTube we have people joining in from participants of Indo-Pak event, Mayank. So I just saw that. So, just to mention it for those participants, I would say that this form is specifically for this session's audience. Please go on and mention your names and institutes in this particular form because it will help us knowing who attended the session and who should we be giving certificates to as well. So please go on and fill this form. Make sure before leaving any platform, Zoom or YouTube, fill this form because if you fill it later at the day, let's say at 6 o'clock or something, we might not be able to consider your entry considering other logistical reasons. So uh, that is one part. So again, I would want to repeat my instruction for the people on YouTube that this specific form is for VBET session who have attended this session for learning purpose from different schools. So if you were part of the session right from the beginning to the end, please go on and fill this form. With that, I would also like to ask Mayank if you have any other closing remarks, because that is all I had, that people can just fill the form and probably can start dropping off if they don't have anything else to say.
Sure, absolutely. I absolutely encourage all educators over here to please ask us any question, anything that could help you in your class. So any challenge that you're facing, I mean, Vijay ma'am is the person for you to ask that question to, and a plethora of her experience and her success also in that experience is going to be of huge help. So I encourage all teachers over here, anything in your classroom which you've been struggling with, you should ask. Use this platform for that bit, and I'm happy to kind of share my thoughts on that as well, if in case it kind of helps and I feel that I'm the right person for that. But yeah, that's something which I'd kind of put across. You could write it in the chat box, you could just unmute yourself and speak. Ruchi, they have the opportunity to unmute themselves?
Yes.
They do? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Anyone over here? Signa ma'am, I know you're a person who's always very interested in what's happening, so I'd love to hear something from you as well.
Sir, I look forward to all the Val-Ed sessions because day-to-day classes, what we take, we sometimes get into monotonous kind of routine. So this value education, it kind of open our eyes, to pause and then reflect, like how our children are growing, how is their thought process. So definitely, I always look up to all the value education sessions.
Wonderful, very nice. I know we have Sanchita ma'am over here. Sanchita Bomik, ma'am, are you here?
Sanchita Bomik ma'am. Jadi namin ni Sanchita ma'am.
Ali, is Sanchita ma'am around you?
No,
She's
Sanchita
there.
ma'am texted that she's attending from her home,
Oh, okay.
but she also had some internet issues.
Yeah,
okay.
I think the
I
time
think we have
also.
other people from Greenwood as well.
Correct. Yeah. The reason I mentioned that is because Greenwood is one of the most premier and the most wonderful institutions in Bangalore, very very famous, and we have a program, Vijayam ma'am, where Ruchika specifically has been spending a lot of time with 10 selected educators from Greenwood International, and we've been kind of trying to empower them of how they can integrate a lot of our research and our learnings in their own practices. I just wanted her to kind of share something on those lines, or anyone from Greenwood could do that actually. That actually makes a fair point as well. Shruti ma'am, have you unmuted yourself? Shruti Sri Kumar. Ruchi, how many form fills do we have? So that's also
That's what I'm checking. I was about to mention that I guess at this point we should rely on our forms.
Yeah.
So far, I have 19 responses.
Yeah, so there are about 66 plus right now over here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Saturday being a working day, and then it's a continuation. So teachers also must be feeling a little tired, and
Oh,
so
yes,
they can
and
always raise the questions through the feedback
yes,
also. Any comments you can put there, no?
yes.
And
And I just got a text from Sanchita ma'am as well that she could not unmute, so she could not answer you. But anyway,
Oh,
I think Sanchita ma'am, we now know that you can hear us. So form would be the great way to mention all of your thoughts over there.
so thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, Mayank, Ruchika, and all the participants. Thank you for listening to me. God bless. Have
Thank
a wonderful weekend.
Okay.
Same
Thank you
to
so
you.
much, ma'am. Have a
Yeah.
wonderful weekend, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have
Bye
20
bye.
responses.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. Thank you. May I leave?
Yes, ma'am. That'll be fine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mike. Thank you. Bye bye.
thank you, Vijayam, ma'am. Thank you.
So for other people, we only have 21 responses, and this is something we are ready to go on for, let's say, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe till evening, because if you do not fill the form, you will not get the certificate. So that is one part. Just give me 1 minute, man. Just keep the call because Sanchita ma'am is calling me. I'll just attend her
Please,
call.
please. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a nice incentive for everyone. I'm sure all of us look forward to the certifications, which helps us in our own personal professional career. So please fill that form up because that gives us also a logical reason for us to be able to give that certification to you guys. So please do fill it up. I can understand some of you are unable to unmute yourself, right? And again, if remember the platform is open for any questions that anyone might have, which you might want some sort of a guidance on. And please know that the platform is open not only to ask questions but also to answer the fellow question. Uh, Something which is very dear to our philosophy is that Val-Ed is out to create a community of like-minded educators who believe in the power of values education. So it's an alliance that we're trying to create, which kind of helps us in that place. I know Snigdha ma'am has raised her hand, so okay, great. Go ahead, ma'am.
So sometimes what happens, I have seen in my classes, particularly that sixth standard, that kind of age children. Few of the children take it positively. They look forward to it, but few of the children they feel like, oh my God, what is going on? Why I'm hearing this? So how to deal with this kind of children? Meaning they feel like, okay, like it is all the gyan, why I should follow. So this kind of attitude, I feel more it is there in that age group. So
Correct.
how to deal with those children?
Correct. So I'll probably just share two things which I've learned on it, right? Which might help everyone over here. But thank you so much for a very relevant question, which a lot of them face. You actually answered it in some extent in your questions, right? Why should I listen to what ma'am is going to talk? Right? Which means give them a very strong why to your sessions. Right? All of our lesson plans, Signa ma'am, begin with learning objectives. If you've seen our modules, right? If we are able to put across the lesson plan objective in the form of a why, then our children are very, very likely to take interest because everyone wants to be part of a conversation where they are going to get something out of it, which they want, not just get something out of it, right? So if, for example, our session starts with a question which they're able to relate to, or the offering of something which they want or they desire, right? They are very, very likely to listen to. For example, how many of you would like to have the ice cold calm like MS Dhoni has? Now you will see even the ones who don't are interested, not interested, they'll raise their hands, right? Because everyone wants that kind of a skill. Okay. And then you say that, okay, how many of you, for example, have found that, you get angry on small, small things? Then you'll see a lot of not all of, half of them will raise hand. Okay. How many of you feel that you have found the solution to anger management? Right? Maybe one or two hands will go up, right? And the third one, sometimes you feel like, man, no one responds no matter what I say. Then you should probably ask, because people love to have an opinion on someone else, which is, how many of you have seen that in our classroom or in your house, people have an anger management issue? Then you'll start seeing a lot of people raising their hands because they feel now the question is not on me, it's on someone else, right? And then when you know those people are the ones who generally don't participate, you can ask, okay, can you tell me what you have noticed about someone else's anger? So the focus with these kind of students is on someone else. But you know, through the conversation, you'll be able to make it about them also, about generic also, and they'll be engaged in that manner. So in one line, what I'm trying to say is that give children a very strong why before you start teaching. Then they will want to listen to you, not that they will have to listen to you.
Thank you. I will definitely try in my next sessions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. That's the reason why, for example, even when I was speaking, the first thing I said, right, a lot of you must be thinking, what is so different in your value education class, which is not there somewhere else? ऐसा क्या तुम लोग अलग कर रहे हो? Right? मैं उसी का आंसर देने वाला हूं. So then what happens? A lot of them say like, okay, this is worth listening to. Actually, I wanted to know what is this so different that the management has taken up. So I gave them the why before I kind of started the process. Right? Thank you so much, Signa. I know someone else also had raised their hand. I think it was Saloni, I think.
Yeah, it was Saloni.
Go ahead. Saloni, you there?
Actually, it's good evening, Mayank. This is Sandhya from Chitrakuta Kaushalya.
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
I don't know why my name is Saloni.
I'll give you a short answer to that. The link which has been shared with you through which you've logged in is actually Saloni's personal login. That's the reason why when you logged in, it came across as Saloni Damani. So there are multiple Saloni Damanis in this entire group, by the way, right? But it's actually because you've used her kind of a link entry. So something for Saloni to keep in mind as well. But please, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the wonderful session. I really am very interested in the Saksham classes which are being conducted to parents as well. I feel more of these classes or sessions to be conducted to parents also, because nowadays the generation has changed and their thinking towards the values is also changed. Why should I wash my parents' leg? Why should I do that? So they need to know the values, why they are doing it. So I want you all to have more sessions for parents as well when we have it in our schools.
Absolutely, ma'am. Noted, right? In fact, very shortly, Gunja ma'am is not on this call as it. In fact, she's logged in through the YouTube link, right? So we in fact have a virtual parenting sessions which are going to be done every 3 months for all of our schools. It's virtual, it's online, it's on a weekend, so allows for a lot of people to attend. So that's when even parents will start learning not only the importance of it, but also the how, which they can follow at home, which is going to help in this perspective. But yeah, I think a lot of us are that they need. We have Mandira who has unmuted herself. Mandira, would you like to state or ask something?
So I would just like to say that we at times, as and when time permits, we have actually incorporated certain values systems which we have learned from you. Particularly one session I remember where we have conducted a session on how children can manage money. So if they are given money, how would they spend the money? So that session was actually incorporated from your work. That's what I wanted to tell you.
Very nice, Mandira ma'am. So good to hear that testimonial, and I hope that it helps our children on that front. And I just as a point, right? I feel that our teachers really need to hear this. Like unburden yourself from the expectation that every class should make a difference. Sometimes it doesn't, right? Sometimes it's a churning process. My friend used to use the example of brown water and clear water. Snigdha ma'am, have you ever heard of this brown water theory? You haven't, right? It's a very nice one.
No, sir.
Whenever you open a tap, right, the more older it is, right, first brown water will come out, which is all the gandagi and everything which moves on. Then only clear water comes out, right? But it does not mean that the turning of the tap is not making a difference. You going to classroom, you sharing that, right? All of that makes a huge difference. And that's exactly after that, when it kind of, moves in the entire process, it eventually leads to that pure water and that learning to come across. So please know, dear teachers, Hemavati ma'am, Rukmani ma'am, Nagmani ma'am, Susma ma'am, your effort makes a difference, right? All that you're doing will for sure have bearing. And often, it is in an unconscious state that we realize that, Nikita ma'am somewhere had told this to me. Hamsa ma'am had somewhere told this to me. And now I realize what she was trying to tell, right? So that aha moment, in fact, will make children remember you a long time. So remember, groundwater will come first, then white water, then clear water. So all of your effort and churning will take it. It's okay. Every class doesn't have to be awesome. Good enough is good enough. Good enough is good enough, right? So that's the way I look at it. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone, for that kind of a thing. And Ruchika, back to you. Thank you so much, everyone. It was wonderful.
Yes. So again, I thank you so much, Mayank, for taking this time and bringing out all of these testimonials and stories. The last thing I again would want to emphasize that so far I have 50 responses on the form and people are still filling it up. So all of those who have filled the form, you may please log out because there is nothing else and it's already 4 o'clock. So I don't want to take up any more of your time as well. But all those, remember, who have not filled the form, you might not be able to get the certificate for this session. So we are happy spreading the knowledge, but in terms of certification, we have to fulfill certain formalities. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. And people on YouTube as well. So I'll just end the stream on YouTube so that we can go ahead and focus on the rest of our day as well.